Welcome to our channel. In this video, we are going to talk about history of Las Vegas. So before starting, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for future updates. The area was first inhabited by Palea Indian peoples, whose descendants include the Paiute, around 12,000 years ago. Their tools have been discovered in the Las Vegas Valley at several locations. The ancestral Pueblo, Anasazi, and Paiute peoples arrived later and traveled between mountain and valley seasonal settlements. Members of a Spanish exploration expedition led by Santa Fe trader Antonio Armijo and a scout, Rafael Rivera, who was looking for a new route from Santa Fe to Los Angeles, were the first Europeans known to have explored the area. When Armijo arrived in the area in 1829 and noticed the wetlands and meadows, he labeled it Las Vegas on his map. In that same year, the first Americans to see the area were in a trapping party that included frontiersman Kit Carson. He returned 15 years later as guide for the pioneering mission to the region led by John Charles Fremont. In 1855, a group of Mormon missionaries settled in the area. Led by church elder William Bringhurst, the Mormons built a log fort surrounded by garden plots and fields of grain. In 1856, Bringhurst's men discovered lead in the Spring Mountains, and Mormon church leader Brigham Young sent metallurgists from Salt Lake City to develop a mine for the purpose of making tools and ammunition. The find did not become profitable at that time, but was developed during World War I as the Potosi Mine, a rich source of galena, or in silver. The land and climate were harsh, however, and the crops failed the second year, which led to internal dissent and Bringhurst's dismissal. In 1857, the settlers encountered another setback under the leadership of Samuel Thompson, when insects ravaged the majority of the crops. By the end of the year, the Mormon missionaries had given up on the fort. In the following years, more Mormons arrived in the area, including Daniel and Bonelli, who ran a ferry on the Colorado River. For numerous decades, the Las Vegas Valley, which was part of Arizona Territory until 1866 when it became part of Nevada, was poorly explored and sparsely populated. Only 30 persons were enumerated in the 1900 census, practically all of whom were employees of a cattle ranch that had been created near the historic Mormon fort site. The early 20th century. Las Vegas was significantly smaller at the turn of the century than Searchlight, a mining town about 60 miles, 100 kilometers, to the south. The community's fortunes improved, however, when William A. Clark, a Montana mining tycoon and politician for whom the present-day county was named, arrived. Clark, a major investor in a corporation that was building a railroad from Los Angeles to Salt Lake City, saw the artesian springs of Las Vegas as a reliable water source along the way. He bought a big piece of land in the Las Vegas Valley, secured water rights to the springs, and arranged for the construction of a train depot. Clark also exercised his political and economic clout, openly bribing legislators to secure favors for the railroad. In 1905, Clark organized an auction of his land holdings near the new railroad depot and station cafe, which included the town's first casino. The auction, heavily advertised in the railroad's two terminal cities, far exceeded Clark's expectations and resulted in the sale of nearly every available lot. Clark used a portion of the proceeds to build a pipeline from the springs to the depot and dig a well, which would assure a steady water supply for the new town. He also helped fund the construction of secondary rail lines to the mining towns of Tonopah and Goldfield. Except for one sector, which quickly emerged as a legally sanctioned zone of prostitutes and gambling, Las Vegas grew slowly at first. When the Nevada government outlawed gambling in 1910, the zone suffered a minor setback. As a result, the casinos went underground, where they thrived until gambling was legalized again in 1931. Las Vegas was established on March 16, 1911, 2 years after it was declared the county seat. It was officially created on May 15, 1905. Development as a tourist destination. Clark sold his share of the railroad to the Union Pacific Company in 1921. Small ranches began to pop up in and around Las Vegas, some of them thinly disguised brothels, and the town soon became a popular weekend destination for residents of Los Angeles. An influx of people who worked in the Hollywood movie industry helped fuel a growth spurt, bringing the population to more than 5,000 by 1930. Californians were lured not only by the climate and gambling, but also by Nevada's newly relaxed divorce laws, which required only a 6-week residency in the state before one was eligible to file for divorce. Construction of the Boulder, later Hoover, Dam across nearby Black Canyon in the 1930s, during the height of the Great Depression, proved to be a tremendous boon for Las Vegas. Wartime and early post-war growth. When World War II broke out, the dam construction was followed by defense workers and military personnel, and Las Vegas grew even bigger. Senator Pat McCarran of Nevada successfully petitioned the federal government in 1941 to create 2 significant sites near Las Vegas: a magnesium processing factory in Henderson, and a military airstrip close to the northeast. The latter, now known as Nellis Air Force Base, developed to encompass 1,350 square miles, 3,500 square kilometers, of land, including the U.S. Air Force's huge testing range northwest of town. Thousands of more people were attracted to the region by this and other defense-related installations. Hotel owners, encouraged by the large influx of newcomers, began to offer entertainment featuring top-name performers such as Frank Sinatra, Tommy Dorsey, and the Andrews Sisters. After World War II, many of the returning soldiers chose to settle in the Las Vegas area. Their decision was made easier because air conditioning systems were rapidly being installed in buildings, which made Las Vegas and the rest of the Southwest much more habitable during the hot summer months. Growth was rapid, the city's population nearly tripling between 1940 and 1950 and more than doubling again in the following decade. Emergence of the contemporary city. The prospect of enormous profits from legalized gambling and prostitution proved to be a strong attraction for organized crime syndicates. In 1945, Bugsy Siegel, one of the most prominent of these criminals, began constructing the Flamingo, the city's first major casino and hotel complex. He incurred a large debt with Meyer Lansky and other mob associates, and the first months of the Flamingo's operation were shaky. It opened for good in March 1947, but Siegel was murdered shortly thereafter according to one theory, at the behest of Lansky and other disgruntled investors, and Lansky immediately took over the business. The Flamingo's enormous success encouraged more ventures, and several new casinos sprang up along what had become known as the Strip: the Thunderbird in 1948, the Desert Inn in 1950, the Sands and the Sahara in 1952, and the Riviera, the Royal Nevada, and the Dunes in 1955. In the late 1980s, the city's overall growth accelerated to match that of its gaming and tourist economy. The city's population increased by nearly 100,000 between 1980 and 1990 to exceed 250,000, and it surpassed the 500,000 mark early in the 21st century. The metropolitan area reached 1 million inhabitants in the mid-1990s, and was well on its way to doubling that number a decade later. The venerable Dunes was demolished in October 1993 in true Vegas tradition, as a spectacle in front of a huge crowd of onlookers. It was the last of the city's 1950s-era hotels, and its destruction symbolically ushered in a new era of elite hotels, including the Venetian and the Bellagio. In a city that has long been characterized by such periods of sweeping growth and change, tourism and its vast array of ancillary services have provided Las Vegas with its most constant measure of continuity over the years. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoy this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go, and also press the bell icon so that you can get notification about our new videos. If it was helpful, then share it with others. Thanks for watching the video.